I have the CEO of the authority here, Osman Ayariga. Osman, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you, my
Good
brother.
morning. I hope you're doing well.
At least I woke up this morning knowing that if I am to have any Momo transaction, there won't be any deduction from it. So I want to
Right.
thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama because I woke up this morning knowing that if I'm to send money to my auntie or my sisters or my siblings up north, I won't be deducted any percentage in the form. At
Yes.
least there's some reproof, there's some joy, and to the boys out there too who
The investors.
try the investors who calculate odds. To I'm happy for them that now when you sleep through the night and calculate your odds, who is going to score what goal, and you win your bet, we are not deducting any 10% from it. So I want to thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for heeding to the call, especially these were taxes that were really affecting the youth of this country. So at least I woke up this morning extremely excited
Right.
about some of these heavy burdens that has been lifted off the youth of this country. But then again, there's a much more bigger issue and a threat to society and a threat to the youth of this country. And that is why we are here. And I want to thank you especially for giving us your platform to speak on this social canker of vice that is eating into our society and ravaging so many young people that hitherto would have very bright future, very huge potential that could actually lead this country, whether politically or the business or industry, just, waste their lives through this drug abuse. I think before even the emergence of this popular opioid called Red, we all knew of the tramadol.
Tramadol, yeah.
Yes, the abuse of tramadol became a very critical issue in society. Aside from tramadol, too, there was the abuse of these cough mixtures, cough syrups, and aside from that, people began to mix the cough mixture with some alcoholic energy drink beverages. And in addition to that, some even started mixing what we call super glue with even some of this, yes, sniffing that, and just to make them high or just to daze them a bit. I don't know what and why they used to do that, but it's becoming a very serious issue. And at the National Youth Authority, as part of our mandate, we have to develop the potential, the creative potential of the youth. We have to develop a dynamic, responsible youth, disciplined youth, and imbue in them the spirit of nationalism, patriotism,
Right.
civic responsibility. So we are in charge of the entire holistic development of the youth. So we cannot sit back and watch some of these things happen. And most of these things happen due to some, it happens in phases. Every season and what do you call it, the manufacturers or the cartels bring into the system. So this recent drug, which is popularly called Red, that's what they call it, and because of its color. It has so many market names. It has a name called Tafradol. It's Tafradol. It's also called Tima King, and it's also called Super Royal 225. So these are the markets.
Interesting names.
Yes, interesting market names. And if you speak to the pharmacists, they'll tell you that it's a mixture of tapentadol and carisoprodol. And these are two extremely powerful chemicals that's all over the world. There's no way you're supposed to put these two together to bond and it's a human being actually take it. So one of them actually dazes you. Yes, I think that is the tapentadol dazes you, makes you slow. And that of the carisoprodol, that actually reduces even your breathing. So you realize that as soon as they take it, it's like the person is sleeping or the person is almost dead.
Almost dead, yeah.
So these are some of the chemical combinations to this. So
Because I have seen a video
Yes.
of a guy who is said to have taken some of these drugs at a Galamsey site.
Yeah.
And then he was just there, then he just fell into the pit. Just like
so
that.
these are two chemicals that are usually added to opioids and other drugs to help relieve you of pain.
Pain,
And that's
yeah.
extreme pain. maybe if you've gone through some cesarean section or some operation, because of the pain that it comes with. So these are sometimes given under strict restrictions and strict regulations and strict supervision by doctors. And even for the carisoprodol, that is actually banned in Europe because it's very difficult for one to detach from it when you start taking it. So
it gets easily addictive.
It gets easily addictive. So these are, even based on their individual components, they are not allowed in other jurisdictions. Talk less of a combination of these two chemicals. So once you take it, it seizes your system. You can be walking, and by the time you realize you are off, either you are sleeping or if it shuts down your system, but you are not dead. So this is becoming a serious canker.
Right.
And you see that so many young people are beginning to get addicted to it. So we at the National Youth Authority, with the support of our Minister for Youth Development, GHOne, we decided to launch a massive campaign against drug abuse.
Okay.
People are of the opinion that, well, drug abuse is as a result of the high unemployment rate, etc., etc.
Yes, and the economic challenges.
It's not entirely the case.
Okay.
Because we've seen in times past millionaires, billionaires, celebrities hook onto drugs, and it has destroyed them. I won't want to mention names.
But we
all know some of the names. One of our greatest stars who played the piano so well, I won't want to mention his name, maybe for the sake of a family that is
a great singer also in America.
Yes, a great singer in America. So many celebrities.
And even here we've seen
great singers, great musicians
people, right,
who are still on drugs, who are alive, and they've come out to confess that, yes, I'm on drugs, I've become an addict, but I'm thinking of how I can get out of it. So for privacy's sake and not to name and shame, I won't want to mention names. Most of us know them already, and they tell you that it's not that they were unemployed or they didn't have jobs. Most of them were really rich people, and by the time they realized, they wasted all their monies on drugs and they became addicts, and they had to be on the streets begging to be able to make ends meet. So I disagree with people when they make the point that the situation we have now is as a result of the youth not having jobs. Yes, we know the youth are not having jobs. We are doing everything possible to create jobs for them. But the issues of drugs has very little to do with availability of jobs. You realize that even most of the people who take the drugs, they tell you that they take the drugs to go and work.
But what kind of work? What kind of jobs are they into?
You see,
because like I said, I saw a video of one at a Galamsey site. I've seen the videos of people who are doing hawking and most
of them, you realize they are either on the construction site, they're on the Galamsey site, or they are selling on the streets, etc., etc. So it's not as if they are entirely unemployed.
Okay.
But most of them take it that, oh, I want to relax my nerves, I want to go and work harder. But these substances do not and cannot help you. And that's why we are launching this massive campaign from the National Youth Authority and the Ministry of Youth Development, that we should try as much as possible as young people to desist from the abuse of substances. And this is very prevalent on the streets and especially in our secondary schools.
Okay.
This is where most of our young people in their teeming age try most of these substances. They are in their age of experimenting. And once they experiment and they get it wrong, they get addicted to it. Beyond the SHS level, you have it in the senior high school levels. And aside from even red, there are so many pills that most of the young people, even in universities, take. They have all these ecstasy pills, they have all these pills to daze them, they have all these additives to make them high. Now they have wee toffee, they have wee cookie, they have wee cake, they have wee sobolo, they have wee ice cream cake.
The brownies.
The brownies. Everything is infused by most of our young people. If you're not careful and you even attend a party by a young person, if you're not careful, the drink you may take may actually be infused. And I've had people who called me and they didn't even know most of the drinks they took at parties were infused. So we are calling on young people that, how high do you want to be? How high can you get? And after getting high, does it solve your problems?
Yeah.
And it's just that 5 minutes of excitement. And what are you going to do with that 5 minutes of excitement? Now, most of the things you may do, at the end of the day, you will not even remember most of the things you did. A chief in the north is actually calling on people to come and fight this drug abuse, especially in the north and other places. And just as, to say, maybe boys meet or men meet at a funeral and you see bottles of beer around the table. Now, when you go to some places, you meet boys seated with bottles of cough mixtures on the table, and they are mixing and they are drinking. So it's actually a very serious issue.
Yeah.
And I mean, first and foremost, the Narcotics Drug Control Enforcement Act talks about the fact that, in fact, the possession of these narcotic drugs is illegal, its importation is illegal, its sale is illegal, its possession is illegal. So anything within the value chain of narcotics drugs is illegal. So first and foremost, it's illegal for you to even be taking those drugs, especially even with the cough mixtures. Take it without prescription and you're taking it just to get high. It's illegal. So we're calling on young people that let's us remain sober.
Okay.
There's no need for us to get high. And for those of them who have already gone beyond the normal levels and will need some help, the National Youth Authority, through our various youth centers, we already have the counseling session, we have the rehabilitation session. If you know you are within that category and you need help, the National Youth Authority is ready to help young people who are in one way or the other getting addicted, to help them being rehabilitated and brought back to normalcy. Once you are brought back to normalcy, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, through the National Youth Authority, will be implementing the National Apprenticeship Program. We'll make sure we are able to recruit most of these young people as part
So that's the plan.
Yeah, that is the plan.
There's a plan to, first of all, sensitize young people about it, also discourage them from using it. But those who are already in it, because one of the big problems we've had is rehab. Because I've had a conversation with someone and told the person, well, I don't see a lot of rehabilitation centers around. The ones I see are also somewhat private and
expensive.
And very expensive to access these ones. So there's a whole plan, a complete cycle as to how you want to run this.
Yes. So it's not just for red, but other substances. Red has become the very popular one now, and it's what I don't want to say it's what is in vogue, but it's the most popular drug now. As I said, there are cough mixtures, those who get addicted to weed, those who get addicted to other substances. And so beyond the advocacy, we're also looking at engaging. We've already engaged other law enforcement agencies to make sure they crack the whip. Now, one, those who are engaging in the sale, we are coming after you. Those who are engaging in the importation, we are coming after you. Those who are engaged in the distribution, we are coming after you. And those who are engaging in the manufacturing locally, too, we are coming after you. Now, to the end user, those who need help, we will come and help you. Those who are adamant, we will make sure the law also comes after you. But those who have gone beyond being the normal threshold and need help, then we'll come in with the issues of rehabilitation. We have the National Youth Authority, we have the youth development centers that have counseling sessions, counseling rooms. We use that to try as much as possible to rehabilitate you back to normalcy.
How accessible are these centers?
Come again?
How accessible are these centers that will provide the counseling for people? And are they readily available for people to know and go to?
Yes, for now, most of them are available. We have the National Youth Authority offices in all the regions, and we have the youth development centers in, I think, some regions. Example, in Eastern region, we have the youth development center. In Greater Accra, we have the youth development center within our office. In Upper West region, we have the youth development center. And even in some districts, we have the youth development centers. In Tamale, we have the youth house that helps in youth development. So in some regions, we don't have in all regions, but we have in most regions. But where we do not have the direct centers ourselves, we will liaise with other authorities, such as Ministry of Health and other authorities to help with the rehabilitation process. In places where we do not have the centers and we may have to help you, we are more than willing to speak to the authorities or even the private rehabilitation center to see how we can help or meet people halfway. Because some people want, as you said, some people want to be rehabilitated. However, they do not have that wherewithal to be able to rehabilitate it. So we'll be working with other NGOs and other development partners who will be willing and able to help in the payments and also the helping of the rehabilitation of most of these young people. So where we can rehabilitate with our facilities, we will do that. Where we do not have the facilities and we cannot, we will then partner with some development agencies. And so many people are willing and ready to help us in that fight, which we've already begun. So once you're done with the training, once you're done with the rehabilitation, we
Then
hook you onto the national
program.
apprenticeship. We train you, we give you some apprenticeship skills. Then we continue to track you because those people, they need help. You need to continue tracking them so that they do not have a relapse of what they're just fighting. So it's a very serious social issue, and it's actually eating into our moral fabric also. So it's time for us all to come on board. It's just not a fight for National Youth Authority. Just as we all came together to fight galamsey, just as we all came together to fight cocaine and other vices that we thought was damaging society, just as we all came together to fight corruption, we all have to come together to fight drug abuse. Don't say it is the young man's choice to go into drug abuse.
Right.
Sometimes it goes beyond the normal. Sometimes it's mental, it's psychological. And the problem with this part of the world is that we usually do not take psychological treatment or therapy or counseling seriously.
We say it's a white man thing.
Thank you. We usually say it's a white man's thing. And you see so many young people struggling mentally because it's eating them up, and they feel that it's a sign of weakness for you to want to express your problems. But it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually you seeking help. Mental illness, mental health is something that we need to really look into. And those are some of the things the National Youth Authority is looking at. Because you see, it's not just about saying that we need to give you a job. What about your mental state? How are you feeling? How are you going to turn around things? Because you see, when a man is extremely rich, you need to make sure he's mentally stable. When a man is extremely poor, you also need to check his mental stability. When a man is in between rich and poor, it still affects his mental stability. So either way, you need to look at a man's mental health.
Right.
It's not enough to say that because I haven't taken off my shirt or my trousers and walking on the streets of Accra as a madman, I don't need mental treatment. Everybody in one way or the other at a point in time needs counseling. And things don't go the way you want them to go. You actually need counseling. And that is where most of us, especially in this part of the world, we have failed to understand that you always need counseling. You always need someone to speak to. You need someone to direct you. Most of the mental illnesses are not spiritual. It's just that we have refused to seek help. And
that's one of the things that you're providing with this campaign.
Yeah.
But talk to me about the campaign itself. Is it nationwide?
Yes, it's a nationwide campaign because
Okay.
it will surprise you. After we launched the campaign, I've received calls from every corner of this country. And to surprise you, even the villages and the corners that you think that these drugs are not there, you hear the chiefs call you and they'll tell you that people as young as 9 years, 10 years are actually taking the drugs. I don't want to mention names of places, but it will surprise you. It's all over the country. Villages where you think that, oh, as for this place, don't even know red. Trust me, it is there. And the chiefs are trying very hard. And this, I must commend the chiefs especially. The chiefs themselves, in their own way, are trying very hard to fight it. In the north, some chiefs have already set up task force to raid most of the ghettos, to raid most of the suppliers, and to clear them off the streets. So the chiefs are actually fighting it. So we are also helping them, and we want to see that collaboration. Traditional leaders, religious leaders, institutional leaders, the security agencies, we are calling on each and every one of you to join us against this fight on drug abuse so far as the youth is concerned.
Let me take you back a few steps, because I remember you mentioned that we cannot attribute the issue of drug abuse to unemployment.
Only.
Yeah. But there are some who also say that, well, when you look at the economic situation, it's also something that forces young people to want to escape the reality of the hardship they find themselves in.
Yeah, so that cannot be ruled out. That's why I said that let's not blame it only
on unemployment.
Because people who are employed still abuse drugs. People who are unemployed also abuse drugs. Most of the problems is not just about unemployment. Someone can be employed, but he has a broken heart from his girlfriend, and he has decided to try something. Then he gets addicted. Somebody can be employed. Maybe he thinks that by now I should have been promoted to this level. He doesn't get a promotion. He gets depressed. He gets frustrated. He hooks on to most of these drugs. So the issue of the mental illness goes beyond whether you are employed or unemployed. That's why I'm saying that let us not say we want to blame it solely on the fact that the youth are unemployed.
With a thinking process that once you provide jobs, then it
yes.
stops.
So you can provide jobs and the people will still be on the substance and still go mad. So it's not all about providing. You can provide the jobs, but people will still be drug addicts and still go mad. That's why I made an example that we've seen very great pianists who played all the way to the Queen's Hall. But at the end of the day, how did it end? We've seen musicians, we've seen athletes, we've seen footballers, we've seen basketball players at the apex of their careers. Money wasn't a problem. At the time most of them started, most of these, money wasn't a problem, but it had to do with their mental health. So we cannot blame it solely on unemployment, but it's a mental issue. And that's why we are calling on all development partners, both locally and globally, that we are fighting this fight together. Because if you think that it's a fight just for Ghana, wait until it gets to your shores, wait until it gets to your borders. Then you know that it's not just a fight for Ghana. It's a fight that this entire world must take it seriously. And I must also commend the law enforcement agencies. I think somewhere last week, the customs were able to accost some of the drugs that were finding their way into the country, and they said they were bound to Mali or some other countries. But I think we need to up the game, and the customs commissioner has assured us, has given us that assurance that they will make sure that most of these drugs are stopped and not imported into the country. The same with FDA, they're also making sure that most of these drugs are stopped. And we've also spoken to the Pharmaceutical Council to make sure that even if not for red, but most of these painkillers that the young people take them in overdose just to get high, this sale should not be part of the off-the-counter medications that are being sold.
And that's what I wanted to even find out, because it's for me, I also see it as a demand and supply thing. Once there is the demand, people will find ways to supply. And mind you, some of these opioids are not necessarily illegal because they are used for other purposes. Just that we find ways and means to get hold of them and then abuse them till it makes us vegetables.
Yes. You know, hitherto tramadol was sold off the counter. As soon as we started a campaign against tramadol, then it became a restricted drug that would not be sold off the counter. Then there was that threat that if a pharmacist in your caught selling tramadol off the counter, you lose your license, you lose your shop. So then the pharmacists themselves became very careful. So they started selling it only directly to the hospitals and under strict supervision and strict regulation. So most of these opioids are the ones we're calling that the Pharmaceutical Council should make sure that these restrictions again should be placed on the pharmacies.
Right.
So you realize that now beyond the pharmacies, that's where they now have ways and means to import it into the country, not through the pharmaceutical companies. And you have most of these boys roaming, you know, with a wheelbarrow pretending to be selling herbs. At the end of the day, they are the ones that sell most of these drugs. So I'm also using this medium to warn most of them that very soon the police will be cracking the whip on all those people who go around selling drugs on the wheelbarrows, pretending to be selling sex enhancement medication, who's selling ecstasies to make people sexually active. If you are caught with any of these drugs, be it red or any opioid that's to make people high, the police would arrest you in that regard. So we are working with all agencies, Ghana Immigration Service, the CID.
So there's intersectoral collaboration.
Yes. At the media lunch, we had all representation. The CID boss herself was there, the Immigration Board Center representative, Customs Center representative, FDA Center representative, Narcotics Control Board sent the Deputy Director General for Narcotics Control. So it's not just a fight by NYA, but we are collaborating with the necessary and needed regulators and enforcement agents to make sure that we fight, because you need to fight it from its entry.
Right.
That's the first fight. Once you fight the entry, that is good. Then now you look at what is already within your borders. How do you fight and stop its distribution and sale? That is where you work with the police and other agencies. Now, after the ones that have been sold, how do you now manage those that have already been consumed? Right. Then we talk about the rehabilitation. Then we talk about training them and taking them off the street. So we are calling on everyone to come on board. I mean, this red substance, we, the young people of this country, we have a very bright future. The future is bright. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is even making the future of young people brighter with the National Apprenticeship Program, with the GHOne project, with the 1 Million Coders Program. let us not truncate that bright future His Excellency is creating for young people by getting high just for 5 minutes through red. Let's stop red before red stops us. This is our campaign.
Let's stop red before red stops us. That's the CEO of the National Youth Authority, Osman Ayariga. Osman, thank you so much. And we'll also uphold the campaign.
Please do well to join the campaign. You are all influencers. People watch you. People enjoy you. I would beg of you. This is a personal plea for you to use your social media handles to help us propagate the word.
Red means stop.
Red means stop. Let's try to stop red.
Most definitely.
Red stops us.
Grateful. That's Osman Ayariga, CEO of the National Youth Authority. A clarion call on all of us to avoid these opioids. You see, think straight. It helps. It helps. If possible, get water, drink water, and sleep.